Muévete en el espejo, muévete en el espejo, enamórate del... Ready, rolling. Hi. What? I feel like we just shot, huh? Or no, it was last week. Have we been shooting every week? Yeah, huh? Yep. I don't know why today feels sooner for some reason. Also, I haven't really been online as much as I usually am because I've been working and I've been having meetings in the city and I've been sleeping a lot. So I haven't really been online. And also, like, nothing's really happening online. Things happen every day, but not really things that interest me a lot. But I did see some crazy things today, especially, and yesterday. Honestly, I was kind of tripping because I was like, I don't even have nothing to bring to the podcast for next time we shoot. But then this morning I was just like looking through articles and stuff like in the news. I'm not one to read the news. I honestly prefer to get my news from TikTok and Twitter because I feel like it's more current and also more correct because it's coming straight from people who were either there or who know what actually happened. The news is not censored. But today I was looking through articles. And one thing that's trending a lot right now is that Oregon man who drugged his 12-year-old daughter's friends at their sleepover. Have you heard about that? So basically this guy in Oregon had he had his daughter's friends that were 12 years old come over for a sleepover. And during the sleepover, he was like very active and like keeping them entertained and like taking care of the little girls. And then apparently like around 11 p.m., he gave them all mango smoothies. And the mango smoothies, he put what is that called? I don't know how to say the word, benzodiazepine or something like that. Basically, that should knock the kids out. And they got like really drowsy and basically fell asleep in the basement where he had them. And then one of the girls didn't want the smoothie. She didn't like it, so she didn't drink it. And then he even made another one for her and gave her another one to try, but she wasn't into it. So you go down to the basement. They try to follow. He tells them, get ready for bed. So he puts them in the basement where they're going to sleep. And the girl who stayed awake could feel him coming in and out of the room. And she said that at some point, he even put his hand in front of one of the girl's nose and was waving his hand in her face to see if she was sleeping. And then the little girl texted her parent and was like, come pick me up now. Like, I don't feel safe. Come get me. So the parents came. Then that parent called all the other parents and was like, something's going on. So then the parents came to get the little girls. And the dad was like, no, don't take them. Like, just wait until the morning because they're sleeping right now. And they took them to the hospital. And they all tested positive for that drug in their system. And apparently he turned himself in yesterday, but he's pleading non-guilty. And his lawyers are saying that there's no evidence. I don't really understand like when that happens, because obviously if the kids went to the doctor, to the hospital, and then like the private investigators in the hospital, why is the lawyer saying that there's no evidence?
It's got to be proven by a reasonable doubt. You know what I mean? Who's to say that when he was, I'm not saying he's innocent.
Yeah.
If you're in court fighting it, who's to say that he turned around and one of the little girls dropped whatever in there, you know what I mean? Or like, so it's like, that's probably what it is. Like there's no evidence, but there's still probably a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so they're trying to find all the ways to protect him, but it's looking bad for that guy. Luckily, he wasn't able to do anything to those little girls. And man, honestly, it's like uno nunca sabe, you know, when like Mexican moms, when you ask them to go somewhere, they'll be like, no, porque uno nunca sabe. And that's literally what they mean. I remember when I was little, my mom would never let me sleep over at anyone's house. And then they'd be like, can Gabriela spend the night? And she'd be like, no, because what if there's an earthquake and she's not at home with me? Or like, what if there's an emergency? She wouldn't, when I was really little, she wouldn't let me spend the night. So I don't know. I feel like right now there's so much, the odds are very much against children. There's not really a lot of protection against children. Being Mexican myself, obviously there's still a bunch of kids locked up in the border. There's still a bunch of kids being taken away from their parents every day. And obviously across the world, there's kids being killed every day. And here, even at home, like, look at that. And then on that same note, in New Mexico, there was this teacher who brought 2 katana swords to school and had the kids fight each other in the classroom. He said that's tight. It's not tight because one of the kids actually got really hurt. So basically what happened was this teacher brought the swords and told the kids to arrange the desk and like have a fucking duel. Was like, we gonna fight. Okay, first of all, the kids can't fucking read, bro. The kids can't read. The kids are dumb. There's this teacher talking about how the kids don't know the difference between different shapes. And he was saying how they don't know the difference between shapes, and this test was open book, so they could just go in the book and look, and they were just not there yet. So anyways, that's besides the point. This teacher brought 2 swords, real swords, and had the students rearrange the desk to form a ring in the middle of the class and had pairs of pupils square off. And all of this is in the lawsuit. What?
Bruh, my teacher would have done that shit in high school. I probably would have graduated. I'm going to class.
Okay, so
They're probably not hella sharp.
they are because, listen, no, I'm not done yet. So they had one pair of students go up and fight, and everything's fine. And I think at this point, when they had the first pair of students, they were thinking maybe it was like a prop sword, like you said, it's probably not that sharp, right? Then they had the second pair of students come up, and according to the plaintiff's attorney, which is the girl that got hurt, she suffered a large and deep laceration across her right hand and wrist that is inconsistent with a prop sword. So a prop sword couldn't have done that. As soon as it became clear that she was badly hurt, mind you, this is a 16-year-old girl, right? So this is like a child's body. As soon as it became clear that she'd been really badly hurt, the teacher screamed, "I'm in trouble." No shit. The teacher screamed, "I'm in trouble," and ordered the students to delete any videos they shot of the fights. She said the teacher did not immediately call 911, and it took 20 minutes for the girl's grandfather, who is her guardian, to be notified. The school health assistant finally called 911 after 30 minutes. If that was my child, I would be livid to know that, first of all, the teacher brought swords to school. My kid got hurt, and it took you 30 minutes to call 911. Like, what the Okay, anyways. They took her to the emergency room, and the school tried to cover it up and say that they're doing a lesson on metal, and said that they did not violate school rules. The girl has had to go operation, so she's had to get surgery, physical therapy, and mental health counseling stemming from the classroom sword fight. Basic tasks such as pressing buttons, fastening zippers, and cooking are now daily challenges for the girl. So her nerves and tendons, even though it is not possible to fully repair them, and they will remain damaged. So her wrist and hand are permanently injured. It's really sad. It's so sad. I can't believe that. And I got that article from the NBC News. The NBC News, that's where that article is from. What do you mean? What do you mean?
I don't think, at least the teacher was trying to teach him.
Teach them what?
Teach him about like samurais. Something had to do with
Nothing. That teacher was a loser.
But the little girl just got a weak wrist.
No. Can you imagine? You take your kids to school and
you can't fight.
you're trusting that they're getting the best education, and then this dumb teacher.
That's how valuable lesson.
That is so crazy. I would homeschool my kid. Well, that kid probably is going to get homeschooled. I will hope so. I hope they don't go back to school. So I thought that was really crazy. And on the same, it goes along the lines of me saying that all the odds are against kids right now. It seems like there's a huge push for us to protect children more every day. And it gets dark, like it gets really dark. And these are just, I don't know, it's kind of funny because what a fucking dumbass. Like the teacher, what was the teacher thinking, right? Like what was the teacher thinking?
This is going to be a really good lesson today.
In samurai fighting, like we don't even live in the society where you would need, if you had a sword, listen, if there was a fight and you brought a sword, that's not a fight. Like you're just a crazy weirdo at that point.
I had katana swords at my apartment in LA from like my roommates, and they weren't sharp enough. Somebody broke in, I'm not going for the katana sword. So maybe he thought like, okay, they're not sharp, you know what I mean? He probably teamed up a stupid little boy with his weak little girl, and little boy was like, ah.
And chopped her shit.
Yeah, it was like, this is how they handled.
And what's crazy is that the school's trying to cover it up. That's crazy too. Because obviously they were at fault.
But then that shows that they're probably on his side because he probably was.
He's stupid. Or whoever. I don't know if that's...
Hope he learned his lesson.
I don't know if the teacher's a man or a woman, but whoever they are, they're fucking dumb. I used to have a teacher in middle school, and he was crazy, bro. I remember these kids had that nasty like stink bomb spray or like some type of stink bomb something, right? And they're messing around with it in the classroom. And he got so mad that he took it from them, snatched it from them, made all of us sit in our seats and sprayed it in the classroom, locked the door, and went outside to smoke a cigarette.
Let's go.
Like his classroom was the last classroom before like the exit of the school. So you could see him throughout the day smoking a cigarette on the curb, like not on school property technically, right? So see, he has. He used to tell us that he's God. He used to be like, I'm God. I wonder what happened to him. Mr. Everly, if you're watching this, let's go to dinner. I'm 33 now, so he was crazy, okay? There used to be this foam finger in his classroom, and it was like propped up somewhere, and then it looked like a middle finger, right? It was like this, but then when you turned it around, it was like this. So it was like this prop that it looked like a middle finger. And then I remember one time somebody was getting smart with him, and then he fought them. He fought the student. He like fist fought them, and then he let people fight in his classroom and stuff. He was so crazy. He was the first person I ever saw make like a music video type, because he would bring his camera to the school dances, and then he'd make a funny edited video of us, and we're like stupid little kids. You're like in 8th grade. I don't remember if it was 8th grade, if it was my high. Yeah, it was my middle school, and then be like us dancing, and then he'd just be making fun of us, and he was a really sweet teacher, and I really liked being in his class, but he was crazy. I wonder what happened to him. I'm going to look him up. Do you guys do that? Like, look people up from school ever? You never do that? Maybe that's like a girl thing. You what?
I don't remember anybody. I never went to school.
I only look up,
Teachers?
yeah, or people. I always Google people. I always Google my ex-boyfriends. I always Google my ex-boyfriends just to see where they are in life, you know? Some of my ex-boyfriends, like from middle school, high school, I'm friends with like their siblings on Instagram. So like I see them and their kids. Oh, damn, it's thunder. Sheesh. So I can see what they're up to. One time, or recently actually, I Googled one of my ex-boyfriends from, I think it was in high school that I knew this guy. So my high school used to take us on field trips, and we went on a field trip to the museum. I think it was like the Exploratorium somewhere. I don't remember. But I met this kid on my school trip, and he was from San Francisco. He used to live on 17th and Cap. And we like became friends. We started texting. We would go to the movies together, and I was like so into him. His sister would pick me up and take us to the mall, or like I would meet him in San Francisco, and we'd like, I don't know, just do like random stuff that you do when you're a child, like walk Lake Merritt because you don't have no money, right? So we would just do little kid stuff. And girl, why I Googled him? Okay, this motherfucker went to jail because he was posing as a police officer. And he had an outfit, like he had a full uniform that looked like a police officer. And he was riding around in the mall, basically trying to talk to girls and convince them that he's a cop. And he even had like his car was decked out like a cop. And then I guess he fucked up because he started texting this girl, and he was sending her photos of like him and his gear and guns. And then the girl started telling her family, like, this guy looks kind of weird. Like, I don't think he's a real police officer, and there's something off about him. So then her family reported him to the police, and then he went to jail for impersonating a police officer. So that was crazy. That kind of deterred me from doing the Googling, but then also it made me want to Google more people, because what the fuck else are people up to nowadays? And then I Googled my other boyfriend, who I was so in love with. And this was like my sophomore or junior year of high school. I don't remember. But I loved him, and we had matching sidekicks, and we used to text every day. Okay, and kids nowadays, or younger people nowadays, are so lucky that you can just immediately get the text in and out, because we used to have sidekicks, and I remember I would text him at like 10 a.m. and he wouldn't get that text till like 3 p.m. And that's how quickly you could text back then. And we used to go to all the quinces, and he used to always show me off to like his friends on MySpace. And I remember one time he called me, and he was from 22nd and Bryant, 22B. And then he was like, this is my girlfriend. I was on the phone with him. And then his friends are like, are you sure you know her? You know this girl? He was like, yeah, I'm talking to her right now. And they're like, she's catfishing you. Like, that's not really her. Like, you could never talk to a girl that looks like that. And I was like, that's me. And I thought I was like the hottest thing ever because his cholo friends thought I was catfishing. I was like, oh my God. But anyways, I Googled him. He's still so fine, and he's a soccer coach. So if you're watching this, hit me up. That's crazy. I don't know why I was saying that. Why was I saying that? Because of people in school, huh? Oh yeah, Mr. Eberly. I'm going to Google him tonight, actually. Let me make a note of that. Google Mr. Eberly. I think he had kids. I don't remember. What else? So today I asked the girls in my close friend story to give me like stuff that they wanted me to talk about. And one of the answers was witchcraft, ghosts, brujeria, right? And I was like, man, I don't think I don't think I've ever seen a ghost or nothing like that, so I wouldn't have nothing to share. And I would hope that nobody ever did brujeria on me, but I can't say for sure. And if you have my voodoo doll, rub the shoulders a little bit. Put a little more stuffing in the butt for me, please. Take a little stuffing from the waist and put it in the butt, please. No, but okay, the only like close encounter I ever had with brujeria, right? I want to say this was like in 2016. I used to work at this counter service restaurant in the financial district. So basically, counter service is when you just go up and you order your food. So there's no servers and you pay up front and then they call your name and you get the food, right? So it's like fast food style, but it was a nice restaurant. And the bosses were like these two Marin white ladies that like never seen struggle in their life. But one of them was like in the Peace Corps. She could speak Spanish. And they had this beautiful location, like gorgeous countertops, gorgeous, like Instagram ready restaurants. And then all of their employees were like immigrants, undocumented people. So the staff was lit. And they were all Mexicans. They're loud. They cuss at each other. They were always fighting and talking shit about each other. There was these two ladies. Well, I guess they were girls. They were like in their late 20s or early 30s or something. And they were active. Like they loved doing witchcraft type stuff. The two main ones, right? So one of them was like super horny. Like she would always ask me. At the time I was dating this girl and the girl would come meet me at work and she'd like sit down and we'd have coffee together. And she'd be like, where do you find girls to date? Like I want to date girls. She had a daughter. She was just horny. She was weird as hell. And then the other one, her friend, they were quote unquote friends, but they were also like, they hated each other on the low because both of them would talk shit about each other to me because I wasn't friends with either of them. So then the other one, the one that was not horny would tell me like she does these baths where she bathes in milk and flower petals to like attract men to her and it doesn't work. And it doesn't work. That's why she's like always looking for somebody to date and like nobody wants to be with her. And then that lady that would ask me where I find girls to date, she also had a crush on another person on the staff who was this young kid. He was like 22. And I was good friends with him because we were closer to the same age and we'd hang out. We'd go to Yerbuena Gardens. We'd have dinner together because he didn't have friends. He came here from Mexico and he didn't have friends. All he did was work. And she would be like, she was in love with him. And mind you, she was like she was probably 30, maybe in her early 30s, and he was like 22. And she would be like, don't talk to him because he likes you. Don't lead him on. But really, she just liked him. So she didn't want me to talk to him because she was into him. And I would make fun of him. I'd be like, ooh, your girlfriend. And he'd be like, shut up. He hated that she liked him, right? So they were crazy. That's why I'm telling you all this, because those two were crazy. And they had these weird cups underneath all of the workstations. So it would be like, what are you looking for? Oh, they had these weird cups underneath the workstations, right? So it'd be like a cup filled with like herbs or something, like a witchcraft thing. And they had it underneath everyone's workstation. And I don't know, they thought like nobody was going to ever find it or something. And then one day, this other lady who worked there found it and started freaking out really bad. And she was like, somebody's like doing spells in here. Like, I don't feel safe working here. And the white ladies were scrambling when I tell you. They were scrambling. And I was like, because everyone would come talk to me because only one of them could speak Spanish. And the other one couldn't speak Spanish. So I remember the day that they found it, it was only the one that couldn't speak Spanish and me, and I was the store manager there. So the whole staff is like in uproar, like, what the hell? Like, they're doing witchcraft in here. I don't feel safe. Like, something's wrong. And then the lady was like, I only believe in Christ. Like, they need to get rid of this stuff. And then I told the boss, I was like, hey, somebody, I knew who it was, but I was like, somebody's putting like this like weird like cup with the herbs and people don't feel comfortable. And then I was like, I'm assuming it's like for protection and like prosperity, but it could be for something else. And then she's like, okay, explain to her that this is here. I'm like, for what, bitch? Tell me for what? Like, I want to hear this. It's like this random white lady from Marin. Like, she does not know nothing about that. And she was like turning red. Her neck is all itchy. I was like, oh no, this is bad. So then I'm telling her like, this is witchcraft. And she was like, tell her it's for her protection. And I'm like, there's cameras here. Like, there's security here. You don't need this fucking jar with the herb in it for her protection. So they had to clear it out. I remember they dumped it. And that was weird because we found it. So they were actively like doing stuff in the space, right? So one time this guy told me that when he did prep. So the prep happens really, really early in the morning, like 3 to 4 a.m. They're in there prepping for the day. And it was really busy because if you've ever worked in the financial district, like there's all those super, super high-rise buildings with thousands and thousands of employees. So like the lunch rush is crazy. Like your lunch rush could be like 500 to 800 people in one lunch rush because they're all coming from all different kinds of sky rises and startups and big tech places. So it'd be hella lit in there. So you had to do like really serious prep. So he said he was in there. He's like, I walked in, I turn on the light. He's like, and then I get halfway through the restaurant and then someone turns the light off. And he was like, I thought maybe the light went out or something. He's like, but when I walked back to go turn it back on, it turned back on. He's like, so I turned around and I kept doing my job. He's like, but I felt this like fear. He was like, it felt cold and I was scared. He was like, so then he's like, I turn around and I bend over and I'm doing the work. He's like, and then the light turns off again. He's like, then I turn around and I see this really, really, really tall thing. Like, he's like, it wasn't a person, but it was like an entity and it was right behind me and it was hella tall. He's like, then the light switches back on and it's gone. And when he's telling me this, he's crying and I don't know what to do because I'm like, I work in that store and I don't know what to do. I don't know who to tell. And it was so crazy because I remember this other lady. So it was the two main women that was doing all the work. And then everyone else was just getting like, I want to say like we were just caught in the crossfire because there was this other lady there. And I remember one time I wore my hair down and she was like, Gabriela, does your hair ever get dry? Because my hair's curly. And I'm like, no, not really. And at the time I was working at the vegan store, at the vegan restaurant. So like I was eating a lot of fats and I was like really healthy in that time. Why the next day I wake up and my hair's hella dry? And my hair never gets dry. And then my mom is like pretty in tune with like in her spirituality and everything. She's like done a lot of studies and she's like, my mom is seasoned in that. So I told her, I was like, bro, this lady, I told her everything that's going on there. And she was like, don't bring your crystals to work. Because I used to like to wear like crystals in my necklaces or like I put it in my pocket. She was like, don't bring your crystals to work. Like, just go there and work and leave. Like, don't hang out there. Don't talk to those people. And I remember during that time, like, I was just not comfortable in that space. And I went to go hug my mom. And my mom was like, when you hugged me, it felt like someone squeezed me. And she's like, there's something on you. Like, there's something on you. And you have to leave that place. And I was like, no, I love my job. But then like the more that I was there, it was so uncomfortable. I eventually had to leave. And I had to quit. That was honestly one of the first jobs that I ever quit. I think it was my first job that I ever quit. I've never, or actually no, I quit one job before that. But that was like my closest brush with brujeria that I ever had. And where I would see the stuff happening like before my eyes. Or I remember one time the same lady, she was like, if you eat a lot of cabbage, you're going to get bloated. And I was like, that's not true. Like I eat a lot of cabbage every day because I was eating salads with cabbage every day. And then I ate the same salad that I always eat. I always eat the same salad on my lunch break. And then the next day I was so bloated. Like I had like a pregnant belly. Like I couldn't even button my pants. And I was like, dude, this place it was getting weird in there. And then eventually I think they closed during the pandemic. But other than that I'm comfortable sharing, I don't think I have like brushes with witchcraft. It was so crazy though. And then during that time also is when I had a stalker. So I feel like when you're around that kind of stuff, like your vibration just like is really low. You get unhealthy physically, and whatever like energy is, when your vibration is low, energies know that your vibration is low. So they'll come and they'll latch onto you, and then weird shit starts happening in your life. During that time, I had a little dog, and his name's Magic. His name was Magic. And I literally got him when I started doing tarot readings. Because if anybody is a practitioner, you know that when you're working with dark arts, you need a little familiar spirit. Kind of like Harry Potter, how they all had like an owl or a frog, or you have some kind of like familiar spirit, your little pet, is to protect you. And during that time, right before I had that stalker, my dog got hit by a car and died. So I could feel it on me. Like I could feel that something was like coming for me. And it was crazy. That during that time was crazy. And I know it was because I was in that space and they were actively doing dark work, like dark magic that was meant to harm or meant to throw. Because whenever you're doing work, you always, even though you're asking for something or you want to manipulate a certain situation, ultimately you're asking for God's will. And that's what will make your work potent or abundant, is because you ask for it or you do the work and then you say that you only want it if it's God's will. And when you're doing that kind of work where you're trying to like throw shit off or harm someone or put fear in stuff, or or there's like hatred between the people working together, that's bad business. It was really terrible. So yeah, that's the only time that I really felt like there was like dark energy. And then the situation too, when I had that stalker, like that guy was so infested with dark spirits. Like literally after I stopped talking to him, and even after he was not stalking me anymore, like I never could fall asleep because I was just, obviously there was a lot of trauma in that situation, but I feel like it was a huge spiritual attack on me during that time. And I'm happy I'm here to tell it, because sometimes that shit goes left. But then very soon after that, I got my cat. And Buku's been with me this whole time. And I feel like a cat is always a stronger companion when it comes to that. Because cats are more in tune with energy, like more than a dog would be. Who is that? The spirit? I think it's just the wind, right? What is that?
Same.
So yeah, kind of weird. Maybe one day I'll get into that, but not right now. Okay, this is the last thing I have. March is Women's Month. I personally don't really like to celebrate like the months to celebrate certain stuff, because I feel like that should be your lifestyle. Like every day is Women's Month, you know? Like every day is all of these things that we pick certain months to celebrate. It should be every day. But I do want to bring attention to women, obviously. And I want to do like one that doesn't need as much attention and kind of, I don't want to say like expose, but like get deeper into one, and then one that is quote unquote bad but needs more attention. So the first one, I would say Frida Kahlo. I think Frida Kahlo, people think she's like this super cool feminist and she's like an idol, right? And people like really worship her. I personally was one of those people because I remember for a long time I was reading this like autobiography on her, and I loved the movie they made for her. I still love the movie they made for her. I think it's really cool. And I really appreciate her because her art is all about herself. She did a lot of self-portraits, and I think she's a cool example of like believing in yourself when nobody else does, because she wasn't famous when she was alive, or not as famous as she was in the later part of her life, but she still kept painting and she still considered painting her work even though people weren't buying the paintings. So that in that part, I think it's really cool. She lived a hard life. She was injured for most of her life. She was a really magical person. But I don't think she deserves as much of the praise as we give her. And I don't think she was such a strong feminist as we perceive her to be. One, because her man used to cheat on her all the time. Her man used to cheat on her with every fucking body. Her man cheated on her with her sister. And she caught them and she took him back. Like, is that an example for you? Do you thrive to be like that? I personally don't. Also, she was German and Mexican, and she was very affluent. Like her family was not poor or like undeserved. Her family lived in a beautiful home, and she always had everything she needed. But I think that her art, she depicted herself as like very native, indigenous, and she wasn't even really like that. Like, she was actually a German Mexican person with a lot of opportunity that decided to like kind of like Jasmine Aladdin vibe. Like, she decided not to lean into that and then go fight the revolution, which is cool. But let's be honest, you know, like, she was a Mexican German person. She wasn't very native or anything like that. Okay, and then the second one that I think that gets demonized, I think this person gets very demonized, and at the time, the times were different when she popped. And we could say popped like in the objective form, but Monica Lewinsky. I think Monica Lewinsky was demonized for something that she didn't do alone. I think that she did something that a lot of women do, and she took all the heat for it on a national level as if it was only her fault, and it wasn't. I think that for Bill Clinton, it was embarrassing and shameful, but for her, it was like the end of her life, if we're being honest. Like, she's like cemented in our brains as like a concubine or someone that did something really disgusting. And she didn't really do anything that, you know, people haven't done in the past or that people won't continue to do in the future. But I think that during that time in the early 90s, it was really normal to slut shame. It was really normal to consider women the bottom of the totem pole. Also, like, it was really normal to consider women less than, or consider a woman an accessory. I talked about this last time, how like during that time it was really normal to like be anorexic, and people only like you for your looks. Women weren't really considered smart or funny back then unless you were laughing at them, you know. So I think she didn't get a fair chance, and I think that if everything that happened back then were to happen now, she would have like a makeup line. She would have her own podcast. She would be a model. She would have more positive press. I think more people would come together and stand up for her and protect her. And I think she deserved more out of the situation. I think her fame could have been taken in a different direction had it happened today in, in the early 2020s. We would have her on the show. Monica Lewinsky, if you're watching this, Caile. I really appreciate her. She took it like a champ, like when that happened, I was a kid and I remember just it being like really dirty and like inappropriate and it was terrible and it was like a disaster and like she was made to seem like someone who destroyed a marriage when realistically, Billy Clinton, you destroyed your own marriage, you fucking cheater, dirty liar. So those are the two women that I want to highlight today. I love being a woman. And I feel like I have a little bit of Frida Kahlo and Monica Lewinsky. I love them both for being girls. I'm really a girl's girl. And I think that a message for... Is that door open? It's hello. I think a message is like we need to be less male-centered. It's not the 90s anymore. You have a voice now. You can vote. You can have your own bank account. So don't get taken for a walk around the lake for your first date, okay? That's all I got today. Do you have anything else? No? What about you, Will? I know it's been kind of dead in the news, huh? The news... You said what?
Somebody's dead.
Who's dead? Jay? Oh, because you mean the ambulance? He's like, somebody's dead. Hopefully they're not. Hopefully they're all right. Jay's not dead.
That's it?
Yeah. Do you have anything else? I made a 10-minute TikTok video today.
Did you?
Yeah. And I was just talking shit about everybody. No, okay. You know what I was talking about? I was talking about how people will look at your stuff and swipe right past it. And I feel like it happens on a great scale when, I don't know, I'm still trying to hash it out in my own mind and trying to form my opinions about it, because I feel like in your own city or your own community, you will never receive the support that you expect from people. But then also, I think that when it's a lot of other creators in the area, it's like a competition sometimes. I know that I've been in conversations where people are sending each other DMs or they're sending each other your posts, and then I'll go look if they follow or like the post and they didn't. So people are throwing you on the mood board and they'll never support you. People are taking inspiration from you or following your lead, and they'll never support you or give you props for what you're doing. I've had it happen to me where I go out in public and people will be like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you for everything you're doing and you're killing it. And I'm like, really? Because I never see you like my posts. Like, are you sure that you actually like it? Or are you just saying that because you're looking at me in the face? Or do you actually really like it, but then you don't want to like it for some reason? I don't know. It's honestly a mystery. And I feel like it's like a mystery of humanity, right? Because they didn't like Jesus in his own town either. I don't know. It's really strange. I also feel like there's a lot of people that are not creatives and they're consumers. And that's all they'll ever be. They're just there to take and take and take and never give back. And I don't know how I feel about that, because I've always been a creative person. I've always woken up every day ready to create something and ready to give, and very rarely to take. Or if I'm taking, it's because I'm creating something with what I'm taking. I'm not just taking it and like putting it in my pocket and getting fat off of it and not giving something in return or giving the praise where it's due. I've just never identified with that. And like I'm having a hard time now even being like, well, they're haters. Like I don't even like that word. I don't even like to think that somebody would hate on me because I don't even consider myself somebody to have anything to hate on, you know? So I think that when I go on Instagram, or no, sorry, when I go on TikTok especially, I see like a lot of creators have that same concern that they're not getting the support that they expected, or that people, especially in their own community, don't support them. I feel like in my experience, the greatest support has always come from people that are not in my physical community. I have tons of friends that are from out of state, that are not here in my physical vicinity. And maybe that has a lot to do with it, that I don't know, like they don't have to see you in person. I don't know. I feel like it has given me a lot to think about.
I feel like it's like when you were from some, like for example, like we're from the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go visit the tourist places from the Bay Area. You would rather believe like, oh, I'm gonna go to Miami and go visit the. But when you're from Miami, you don't want to visit Miami.
You go to the beach when you're from Miami.
I mean, yeah, but that's what I mean. That like people take for granted what they're from, and that's what I'm saying. Like you're local, so that might be like the same like ideal thinking. Like it's like I know her, so why would I support her?
Yeah. Or maybe like they feel like what you're creating doesn't represent them because they're from here, you know? And they're like, you're not doing a good job of representing the Bay Area. I wouldn't consider myself a Bay Area artist. I would consider myself a global artist. So I feel like even though I talk how I do and this is my experience, I wouldn't say that my work is just solely for Bay Area people. I mean, except for that guy from Alabama, right? That didn't know that he's got to spend money. Life is expensive here. It costs like $50 to leave your house. And before you leave your house, you probably spent a little bit of money to pay your bills or to buy a yerba mate on the way. Like, it's expensive here. So I feel like in that sense, I feel like that could be something that does corner us in from the experience that we have. But as far as I've had the experiences, usually your biggest supporters come from other places that are not your home. And that's when you see like who really fucks with you, right? I was watching this girl's TikTok the other day, and she was like, when you start posting and you start creating, it's like you're pregnant and you see who your real friends are, because they're going to come around and support you and help you and boost you. And then other people, they're just going to fall away because you're not able-bodied anymore. You can't show up the same way that you have before. Also, I feel like when you're doing like little stuff, you get a different kind of support because people feel like they're helping you get it off the ground, right? So you're doing little local, or not local, but you're doing little like DIY projects, and people want to help you because they're like, oh, ay, pobrecita, you know, like let's help her out. She needs the help. But then I feel like when they see you doing a bigger level of work, like a bigger production, like maybe because I'm here and obviously we spent money for the set and there's money spent in the equipment, they're like, oh, they don't need help. Like they got it. They're already, you know, they're set. And it's like, no, the reason why the work is done is for it to be consumed and supported and multiplied. So I don't know. I feel like it's just like a journey for me. I don't really have a opinion, honestly, because I've been making art for my whole life. And I feel like there's seasons where people have been really, really supportive. And then there's seasons where they haven't. And a mí me da igual because I'm going to keep working regardless. It's not going to stop me from working. And nobody has ever, well, except for that girl. Except for that girl that was like, you don't sound like a podcast host. You sound like a fucking crackhead. Like, that's the only person. Shout out that girl because nobody else has told me, like, your shit sucks, you know, or like, you should stop. Nobody has ever told me nothing like that. In person, everyone has been super supportive. They've always, like, appreciated me. When I do stuff, I feel like my core community always shows up for me. And that's all I could ever ask for. So I feel like on the greater scale, if you're watching my shit and you're looking hella hard, and maybe you watch it 2 or 3 times and you swipe and you don't like it, that's between you and God, you know? Like, if you want to be a hater so bad, who am I to say that you can't do that? So, I don't know. I think this is part of my growth, is figuring that part out. And I think the more experience I get, the more critical my thinking gets, because I know that like every time I've done something, I just get so fucking juiced. Like, literally the first song I ever made, I was like, I'm going on tour. I'm going on tour. I'm streaming 50 million in the first month. Like, that was literally my thinking. And that set me up, first of all, for failure, because obviously that didn't happen. But it set me up to have like an abundance mindset, you know? I always just hope for the best. I'm never like thinking of bad things. So I feel like it keeps me really grounded and positive. And I forgive the people that don't support me and see me in public. But I'm going to start calling you motherfuckers out. Watch. This is me giving you a warning. If you see me in public and you start praising me and I know that you haven't been supporting, liking, or sharing my stuff, I'm calling you out right there on the spot. You're going to hear it from me. I'm planning my revenge. Starting with Will and Jay. No, I already gave Will and Jay there. I think this is like a consistent problem. I don't think it's just me, obviously. I think everybody knows that that's how it goes. And honestly, we don't have a marketing budget. Like, literally, I'm the only person on the internet that's posting this shit. And then whoever else decides to repost, you know? So you can only get as far as that. You only get as far as, right, especially right now, is like pay for play. That's very real. You need a strategy. I feel like I've never failed, though. Like, whenever I've done something, I always have gotten support. Even if it's not like the most support, people have always showed me a lot of love. I think that I know for a fact that I'm a likable person, you know? So I personally don't have like this gripe against people that do that, but it has been brought to my attention. And then I've experienced it because of watching our page, you know? So yeah. I don't know, just something to think about. I was on TikTok today for 10 minutes talking about that. Having the same like back and forth thoughts with myself. Because I don't have any negative feelings towards that. I feel like in my heart, like, okay, even people who I don't talk to no more, that I could say I don't like them, they've harmed me, they've wished me harm, and I don't fuck with them, right? When I think of them, like, in my mind and in my heart, they're perfect. Like, there's nothing wrong with them. They're just not part of my story anymore. Same with people that don't like me or they don't appreciate my work or who I am. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, they're perfect. You know, there's nothing wrong with them. Who am I to say that there's something wrong with someone? That's not for me to say. But then for some reason, when I go online and I look at their alter ego self, I'm like, man, fuck this bitch, corny ass, weak ass bitch. But then I feel like it's because you go online with your similar alter ego. Like, you're going into the online space with your little avatar, you know? You're not going online in your physical body with your soul intact. Like, you have to go through a lot of dimensions that kind of like chip away at who you are. So I feel like in my natural self, I wish everyone well and I love everybody, right? Jesus says to love everybody. So I'm like, okay, if there's one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to love everybody. But then once I'm online, girl, Jesus don't really be on there with me sometimes. and even then, I'm not the type of bitch to go on people's stuff and comment bad things. Or I'm not the type of bitch to, this is like my ethics online. If I saw your post and I know you, I'm going to like it. Because why else are we following each other? If I'm on TikTok and I see your video and I watch the whole thing through and you captivated my attention to watch your whole TikTok, I'm going to like it. Because that's ethical. I've never caught myself seeing something and not liking it and then went and leaving like a hater comment. If I don't like it, I just swipe past it and then I just don't interact with it. Maybe I'll watch it one more time just to make sure that I didn't like it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if that's what's happening and people are looking at my stuff and they're like, I don't like this, it's fine. You're perfect. Like, who am I to say you're not? But I'm not making content for the people that don't like me. I'm making content for the people that do like me. And I think the more that I put myself out there and I'm vulnerable and I'm able to show myself and I prepare so that I'm really confident in what I'm putting out, it makes it easier to reach my people that are going to like me and that do like me. So that's it. That's all I have to say. I'm tired. That's a lot of talking.
That's it?
Yeah. What do you think, Will? This is good? Yeah?